Hello and welcome to this exclusive webinar under the name Beyond the Binary, which is a technical initiative by Fineshift, sponsored by Fineshift. And our today's topic is secure DevSecOps in BFSI with GitLab Self-Managed, a topic which has been talked about, still have covered a lot, but still there are intricacies which needs to be answered. My name is Swapnil. I am the co-founder of Fineshift, and I am thrilled to be your host today. Today, I am being joined by none other than our esteemed speaker, Mr. Akkub, who is a GitLab Solutions Architect. Together, we are exploring how GitLab's self-managed solution is revolutionizing the DevSecOps practices, to ensure the robust security in this critical sector. So I urge all of the participants to get ready for this insightful discussion, because the experience which our speaker carries will give you a practical insights and a deep dive into this powerful tool which is recognized by the globe itself, and it can elevate your security game to the next level. Before starting, I would love if Summer, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you very much, Swapnil, for the great introduction. And I'm super excited and honored to be on this session with our best friends and Fineshift. I'm looking forward to having this session. So my name is Akkub. I'm a senior alliances and channel solutions architect with GitLab. I have been with GitLab for the past 4 years, almost 4 years by the end of this month. And my whole experience with GitLab was around helping customers and now our partners, like our dear friends in Fineshift and you online, on how to adopt and build a secured and proper streamlined DevSecOps platform. How can we better utilize GitLab in the best way that can serve your special requirements, especially in BFSI, which is a very regulated, a highly regulated industry? How can we do that? How can we work? How can this platform help you in your daily job? So yeah, looking forward to have this session.
Thank you so much, Summer. First of all, it's a pleasure and it's an honor, in fact. To start with, my very first question would be, GitLab, very well know what GitLab is, but, could you just give you your overview of GitLab as a complete DevSecOps platform?
Okay. So basically, Swapnil, if I would put GitLab in very short, a 30-second pitch, let's say, today is the only platform in the market. It's the only AI-powered DevSecOps platform in the market that can cover the whole life cycle for DevSecOps capabilities. What I mean by that, and what does it mean for our customers? Simply faster and safer software delivery. And I'm sure you agree with me, Swapnil, that today, regardless of what industry you are in, not only BFSI as our friends on the call today, but actually any other industry, we are all want to be the first in the market. We all want to release the best and the fastest capabilities. But none of us want to feature on the news the next day because of a breach or because of a lack of governance or control. So, you know what? I always say that delivering software is like driving a racing car. You want to reach there, but you want to reach in one piece. This is today, GitLab, we do that by covering the whole capabilities required to build DevSecOps. And when we say DevSecOps, DevSecOps is not only about development. DevSecOps starts all the way from planning, actually. So agile planning, how can I do Apex? How can I do tickets? How can I do roadmaps, milestones? But then without context switching, how can I start running my development inside and then having security as an integrated part, which we will see today in our session? and then having a monitoring, having monitoring and control across the whole life cycle. How can I have this end to end? Basically, Swapnil, GitLab today enables you and enabled our customers to answer a very simple question. How many times you deploy to production? Where are the bottlenecks in your DevSecOps platform? None of us is interested in running 2 to 10 different tools to cover DevSecOps. We want to focus on what we do best, our business, not in integrating tools. So I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you so much for shedding the light on that, and I hope However, today we are here to discuss more about the financial sector, right? Which is
Absolutely.
a very compliant, secured environment in all of the industries we work with, right? So my question would be, in the financial sectors where full control on the data residency and applications is needed, can we still use GitLab in such a controlled environment? And if so, how?
Man, this is an excellent question. Thank you very much. And you know what? That takes me to the next slide here. Uh, GitLab.com is actually many people know that GitLab can be consumed as a SaaS service, right? On GitLab.com, I just go there. It's a multi-tenant environment. It's hosted in the US. I can just open an account using my credit card, and that's it, done. I am on. But many, as you said, many industries, especially BFSI, we don't want to leave our own premise. And if we would leave our own premise, maybe to the cloud region in my area, in India, within where I live. But definitely, I don't want to take my data outside the continent, the whole continent across. For my regulations and for the regulator, the compliance regulator. And this is where the other two flavors of consuming GitLab comes in the picture. GitLab self-managed means that I simply get the software from GitLab, hosted it within my on-premise, within the bank data center or within the financial or the BFSI organization data center, and I am completely managing and operating and running it within my own data center. Guess what? Even for air-gapped environments, I have heard that, especially from BFSI, where I'm not even connected to the internet. Can I run it? And the answer is yes. Now, for many customers, they want the best of both. They want the balance from SaaS and the self-managed in one box. And this is where GitLab Dedicated comes in the picture. Basically, GitLab Dedicated gives you as a customer all the benefits of the SaaS. GitLab is managing the installation, the operation, the upgrade, the day two, the patching, everything. But it's your instance, it's your dedicated instance deployed in your chosen AWS region. For now, it is AWS, and other cloud providers are coming on the way, but for now available on AWS. You choose which AWS region you want to deploy this GitLab instance. You can connect it to your GitLab network or a private network. You connected, or we integrated for you with your backend LDAP users. It's your instance, single tenant instance, but managed and operated by GitLab. This is why for many customers, actually, we have a couple of customers, even actually many customers, even in this region in Asia Pacific, for GitLab Dedicated, they love it because it has this balance between flexibility and efficiency of the SaaS and the control and compliance of the hosted solution, two in one, if you like.
I think that's wonderful. In fact, as you mentioned, if at all, does that make GitLab a unique solution because it has such type of flexibility around installing this particular software either in their own data center or in an air gap environment? Does that make GitLab unique and having an upper hand above the competitor? Is that so?
Absolutely, Swapnil. I'll tell you why. Many solutions today in the market, without naming vendors, but many vendors today in the market, they have stopped. Like, for example, Jira, and in general, has stopped the support for self-managed instance, and they are pushing the customers towards the cloud. This is not a secret; it's public information. It's a public announcement, actually. For other vendors, the software you use on-prem is different than the one you consume on the cloud. So you have to make the tough decision from day one. In GitLab, the software we use in GitLab.com, which we operate for our thousands of customers, hundreds of thousands of customers worldwide, and the software copy you get to run into your data center, and whether under the self-managed or the GitLab dedicated on the cloud, is exactly the same. This is a very, very powerful feature. I'll tell you why, especially for BFSI. Some customers, they choose a hybrid model. They
Right.
say, okay, I want to run GitLab, maybe SaaS or dedicated, but I want my jobs. And this is where GitLab unique is our architecture. I want my runner or my jobs to be executed locally within literally within the boundaries of my data center, within the walls of my data center. And that's completely possible. So the short answer to your question is absolutely yes, because I can adopt the installation or the consumption model as per my requirement in the BFSI, not as per what the vendor, GitLab or any other vendor, is dictating on me.
I think that is a very interesting feature you mentioned, and I'm pretty sure that BFSI and financial sector must be closely watching in how the roadmap of GitLab is ahead, and they don't make the way the Jira guys are made in. I'm sure. However, just installing the self-managed version is just not enough. I'm pretty sure there are other intricacies into it. That's where I want to ask you this: is it, after installing, let's say GitLab self-managed, but there are other factors which needs to be considered, right? There are a lot of aspects like security is one major aspect in the financial sector. Then there are compliance and governance, right?
True.
And
True.
also the audit, reporting, the S-bombs, and so on and so forth. So I want to ask you uh, how the financial sector can build a secured DevSecOps practice.
Man, perfect. This is a great question. Thank you. Thank you, Swapnil. And man, you refer to secure, and you're in your question, you said governance and control. These three terms, especially in financial sector, are always paired together. And guess what? Security and governance and control in many times is more important than even just finding vulnerabilities or just scanning for vulnerabilities. Because if I don't have the control, I may be able to find the security findings or vulnerabilities, but someone may simply go and change the code. I end up with the wrong code or the wrong copy on the internet or deployed. And this is where, before we go into like the overall security, let's discuss together what threats, what do we mean by secured or non-secured software, let's say. According to SALSA, which is the supply chain for software artifacts standards, threats in the software delivery lifecycle can happen anywhere in this whole lifecycle. Simply, man, during the source, even during the code, like just being hosted, unauthorized changes can be submitted, right? Someone simply unauthorized and submit a change to the code. Or even the code itself or the repository may be compromised. Now, moving on during the build process, not only security vulnerabilities can happen in the code, but also I can start my building from a compromised build, right? It can happen, and it happened, trust me. Or even during the delivery process, once this whole thing, yes, I managed to get the repository right, I managed to get the building process right and the source code management right, but then I generated the package and the package out there and it has been tampered because simply there is no enough governance or control on this generated build. So the short answer to your question, my friend, is if you want to control security, and this is what we do in GitLab, we not only focus on security scanning and vulnerabilities, which like we provide end-to-end, but that's not only thing. As we said, governance and control. We impose governance and control across each and every stage of the software delivery lifecycle, from source code management, from software delivery, from dependency and use, as you said, SBOM or software bill of material, for the bill of materials used, the ingredients, if you like, used to build my software, all the way until this package is built, stamped, sealed, and delivered to the deployed. This is what we mean by a secured and governed software delivery lifecycle.
I think this is an interesting anecdote which you mentioned, the way you said that it's been sealed, then stamped, and then deployed into the production. However, as I always said that, in BFSI, security is always paired with the governance and control, right? So can you show us and deep dive a little bit more into this to how to implement these three concepts with GitLab?
Excellent. So let's start, you know what, today, let's start from the very, very, very beginning. Let's start from day zero. I want to add my users, and I want to achieve what we call segregation of duties. Before I come even to the development, what I mean by segregation of duties is I provide users with just enough access rights. Okay, so in GitLab, we provide this segregation of duties or separation of duties in 4 different ways, or in 4 different functions. In users' roles and granular permissions. Why? In protecting the source code in terms of branch protections, defining security policies, and this is where separation of duties between who writes the code and who will securely review the code, and then a way to impose compliance in my pipeline or in the build process through compliance frameworks. Give me a few minutes and let me take you through each one of these in a little bit more depth. When it comes to users' roles, Swapnil and my friends on the call, in general, when you add a user to GitLab, you pick the role for that user based on the functions that user needs to perform. So we have 5 defined roles, predefined roles in GitLab. Owner, maintainer, developer, reporter, and guest. And then you decide what does this user need to do, and I assign the role to that user. Now, the challenge has been always, and the question from our customers is, what if most of the functions for that user are under the developer, but he needs one or two of the maintainer role functions? Usually the answer, sorry, Mr. Customer, you need to go to the maintainer role, to the higher level, which means I'm granting him far more permissions just because he needs some of these permissions from the upper role. Okay? And this is, you had a question.
You mean to say, in order for any financial institution, the security, the governance part starts with allotting specified roles and permissions to as per their policies. Is that what you mean to say?
That's right. So excellent point. I am a BFSI organization. I have my own defined roles and responsibilities. When I adopt GitLab and I want to add the users, I want to be sure that when I add the user, they are as close as possible mapped to the roles and responsibilities defined in my organization. So basically what happens usually with our customers, they review the roles and the functions under each role, and then they assign the users to that role based on their defined governance and user controls in the organization. Now, the gap sometimes happens is I have a user who is a developer, but in my organization, for some reason, he needs to do some of these functions. Some of these functions, not all of them. Okay.
And is there a way? Can you show? Is there a way to show it out, because it seems a little scattered? So, is there a way to show it out?
Absolutely. But before I show, let me just show you one thing here before I switch to the demo. this is what I mean by this is what I mean by custom roles. Now in GitLab, I can take the role, the base role, and then add some functions or some permissions from the other roles to that role and build my own custom role. Means I can start from a developer role and then say, okay, that developer, I want to attach to him some of these other permissions, and then I have, let's say, a developer plus role, like my own version or definition of the role. Let me show you that, my friend. So this is my GitLab, and for those who haven't seen GitLab before, GitLab is structured as projects, groups, and subgroups, and so on and so forth. But the key building block in GitLab is a project, and this is our project for today. So if I come here under the manage and members.
Sama, just to cut you short, can you minimize my screen, so that then?
Sorry, I didn't know that you can see yourself. Yeah. Can you? Is it okay?
Yeah. Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you. So let's say we want to add users, right? And then I can come here and manage under members. Actually, let's go one step back. And let's say I want to have roles and responsibilities. Roles, sorry. Let's say I want to add, what is that? Sorry. I want to add a user to my role, to my project, okay? So I come here and invite that user. And then I tap, let's add 2 users for our demo today. And both of them are my other me under different emails. So the first user, let's say me under the Hotmail email.
Okay.
And then this is what I mean by the different guests I have. Okay. Sorry, by the different roles, the standard roles I have. But under here, you see that I have also two defined custom roles, which I have defined for my group. Okay. So simply, I can come here and assign this user a custom developer role and invite him. Okay. Also, let's go back and invite other members. Let's say I want to invite again by other me. And also, but this time I just want to assign him the typical developer role and invited. You see what I mean? This is how you can define different roles and different, you can assign different roles and custom roles to the users. I hope that answers your question.
That's wonderful. In fact, if I have to sum it up, controlling the granular level of permissions to be assigned to the group members or the project members can literally ensure the kind of security and governance policy being enforced of any organization, not just the financial sectors, if I'm not wrong, right?
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. And let me show you here how you can define custom roles. So if I go to my group level, under settings, under settings and roles and permissions, simply I can say, you see, these are the 2 roles we have seen before. But I can say here, I want to add a new role, and let's call it find shift developer as your developer type or version. That role is based on the template of the developer role, the predefined role, but excuse me. But I want to assign him an admin group level. Usually, by default, these permissions are not included. But now you have FindShift has its own defined version of the developer role with these extra permissions. For the time being, these are the extra permissions you can add. But of course, we are working on adding far more permissions on the way in GitLab in the next few releases. And then I can simply create a new role. And now you have a role which I can go back here and say, if I go back to my project, just show you and go under my members. And let's say Actually, I can go here, search to my demo. You see here, and now I can change that role access to the new role we have just created. So basically, this is how I can control the user's roles along with the custom roles for that user.
That is truly wonderful because no organization has a defined hierarchical structure, and that's where these custom roles will play a crucial role. I believe while defining their policies and implementing that with GitLab, right?
It's all about trying to minimize, not to over or under assign permissions to users, trying to make it as close to what he actually needs as possible.
But okay, but I think that's understandable. However, you know, what about the code itself? Can it be controlled?
That's the next level, my friend. So now I've added the users, I've added Swapnil, I've added me to the project, but I am just there as a user. Okay, what about, as you said, to the code? And this is where in general, when we do coding, Swapnil, there are so many different branching strategies available in the market. And if you like, and for the audience, there is a video I have done before. It's available publicly on YouTube for the differences between that, where I describe the differences between the branching strategies available in the market and when to use what. But for the sake of our session today, GitLab Flow branching, we encourage the use of different branches to assign branches per environment, or / and per releases. So I have, for example, you can have development, staging, pre-production, production environments in your, and usually they are, and then you can have branches, pre-production, development, pre-production, staging, and production branch. Each branch represents what's actually deployed in that environment. And then I push my code and merge between these different branches. While we are doing this, you know what's important? The users we added in day one are now, we need to assign them to exactly the branches they have access rights to merge into. Okay. Swapnil is the admin for the production. I add him to the production branch. Samer is the developer. Samer only has access to the developer branch. I cannot push my code directly to the production without Swapnil accepting that merge.
This feature, probably those who are the CTOs, the C-level executives, definitely love this particular feature, because whenever there is a new feature to be pushed into the production, that's where everybody wants to have a tight control on what's being pushed, and needs a tracking mechanism for that as well, right?
Absolutely. And as you can see here, it's simply, you know what? Let's think of it the other way around. What if I don't have branch protection? By the way, we call protected branches or branch. It means that Samuel is a developer. Samuel is excited about his code. Samuel has tested his code. Samuel can push the code to the production environment. Anyone can push the code to that environment. There is no governance. Back to the same concept. The whole session is about imposing control and governance on each and every level. We started from the user swapping, but now we are taking it to the next level, which is the code. And this is where I define protected branches, and then I define which users who has access to what, who's available, who's allowed to merge or push code into these branches. Actually, seeing is believing, right? So let's go back to our lovely demo. Again, in my project, the one we have just added users to, I can go back to the settings under my repository here and go under this one, protected branches. And as you can see here, I've already defined the 3 different branches. Development, main, staging are just branches. And for those who don't know, a branch is just a copy of the code, my own copy of the code, right? So now I have a user for each branch. This is the user who's allowed to merge, but no one is allowed to push and merge, right? This is the user who is allowed. You know what's the difference between these two? Merge means that I develop on branch and then I merge it into this branch. Push and merge, that I can merge it, but also I can push directly into that branch, which means I'm skipping the code review step, which is coming in the next one. Okay? So, but simply I can come here and add a protected branch. Sorry, you had a question.
No, you continue. I think this is excellent demo.
Yeah, so basically I can click on the add branch, and simply I can choose any branch if you like, for example this one, and then I decide now the role, the user, or the group of users who are allowed to have access to that branch. So yes, some people, I got this question before that someone asked me, does it mean that I have to know who is exactly would be the managers for my production branch? I said no at all. You can assign that to the role and then assign the role to the user, and then anyone with that role would have access to this function. Same for the push and merge. Now, this is a very interesting one, Swapnil. Require approval from the code owners. I will come to it in more details, but remember it is here. And remember that there is always somebody who is SME in some area, and I need his third-party review in my code. And this is then I just added to the to the list of protected branches. To recap, we have controlled the users, and now we are controlling the code, right? Who it has it's like separate copies of the code.
Okay. I think very insightful discussion this is, particularly, and if at all the audience is watching out now, this is something which is being exclusively brought up, and I believe nobody might be giving you that sort of deep level information which you are receiving right now. However, Summer, one thing is for sure, let's say you put in security things in place, you put in control and governance in place. However, at the end of the day, or ultimately, it is up to the decision makers who wants to track everything, whether or not this compliances and governance policies are being adopted and utilized properly, for that matter. So how can any organization or BFSI for that matter track this particular thing, because it is very much essential for their auditing purpose?
Absolutely, my friend. And this takes us to the next level, to the code review cycle. So when we talk about code review, it is different than a branch protection. Okay, it means that I bring my piece of code to be merged into the target branch. Yes, you have the keys to that target environment. Okay, you are the only one who branch, but my manager has to review my code, or my subject matter expert has to review the code from functional point of view, the changes I have done in my code. Also, the security experts should review the code if there are any uncovered vulnerabilities in my source code. Then, any SMEs, and imagine that you are running, you have a legal page in the BFSI for loans, let's say, right? So you want that legal area to have a third-party review from the legal department if anything changed there, and this is what we call code owners. I own that code. Code doesn't need to necessarily to be coding as coding. I own that type of thing, right? So this is where in order to achieve faster code reviews, and by the end of the day, faster delivery, and yes, faster value to market, I need to make sure that The users are governed, the copy of code are governed through protected branches, and then I have all the controls around the code review, that every single change is reviewed by the right people. Technically reviewed, SMEs reviewed, security reviewed, stamp, done. Then Mr. Owner of that target environment, yes, it has all the required approvals. It's approved. Can you please take this change and push it there? It's like you are requiring all of these signatures on the application before you review, you open the door and allow him to go into that target environment. Yes, please.
Excellent. You can continue. I mean, you can show it to us. In fact, let audience see
Actually,
by themselves.
Absolutely, my friend. So you remember the 3 users we added at the beginning? One of them was the cool Mr. Cool developer. Okay, so and I said it's also me. So this little icon, this is the original me, and you can know that from the icon here, the name. I hope it's clear on the screen, and then the icon here on the user, and then this is my ex-developer or co-developer. Okay, let me say, assume that this is me, the developer now. I have been added. I'm super excited about the code. And without going through the agile project management, which is available in GitLab, today let's go directly to the coding. So I will open the excuse me, web IDE environment in GitLab. And as you can see here in the bottom left, I am on the main branch. I am on the production branch. I'm a new developer, joined the environment, and I'm happy. I think that I can do something. Now, before I do that, just remember, in GitLab, I can, as I promised before, you can define code owners. And that's defined in a file called code owner. And this is where you can define per user, define different sections for different files or group of files or type of files or repositories or folders or areas under or subfolders. Who owns what? In my case here, I have 2 users, README, 2 files, the README file and the Docker file, and I have separate owners for these 2 files. To make it today demo interesting, let's go and change these 2 separate files. Remember, I am now the cool developer. So I will go to the README, excuse me. I will go to the README file here, and you know what? Let's do changing the README file. And also, I will go into the Docker file and say, maybe here I'll just add spaces. I like spaces. I'll just add spaces to make a change. And oh my God, I am the new developer. I think I can push into the production. So I'm from here, I'll go and push into the main branch. Oops. You can't push to the main branch because this is a protected branch. This is the environment control, right? You remember the protected. So now I have to, it's not optional. I have to create a branch. So I'll create a branch and let's call it Fine Shift Demo branch, okay? And I'll click enter. Then it will ask me if I want to create a merge request. Into order to merge this branch. Let's create a merge request. And this is it. And it's, as you can see, it's already prepared for me, the description. And I will create this merge request. So basically, a merge request is a request to merge my changes once I am done into the target environment. So you see here, a request to merge my branch into the main branch. Now, my friend, remember how many levels of approvals we defined? This is what will control my change. If I open this drop down, you see all of these people, they have to review. And if now here it's me, but this can be totally different. And let's go through the list. Let's go through the list quickly. My friend, code owners is coming from the code owners file here. And I have changed the README and Docker file intentionally. And then here it's telling me, yes, you have done this, great on you, but go get me approvals from the code owners for these 2 files before I even look into your change. Cool. Then I have policies defined as well to do or to the review policies on my code. And these are 2 types. There are 2 types of policies here. The any eligible policy or any user, and there are the security policies. Okay, and these security policies will come to in a second. But for that other policy, by the way, maybe I haven't shown you that before. I can define review policies if I go under general settings and merge requests.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you can define add approval rule. Approval rule is different, my friend, than protected branches. Here I am asking who are the people who should put their signature on my change before I open before I go and accept that request to be approved. And this is where I can add a new approval, like let's say approval rule here, and into, let's say, if I am adding into the main branch, and this is where I can say, for example, like this user, and then I can add that approval, which will be applied in the new merge request after from this point forward. I hope that answers your early question, please.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very thorough explanation along with the live thing, which I believe, because the people, many of the even the developers, definitely, because GitLab has so many features and they are quite overwhelmed which one to use, which one not to use, and especially in the banking sector, still people are not used to these kinds of features. And I believe this particular thing will definitely answer these questions, and they will try and adopt the way GitLab should be adopted, I believe. Right. Thank you so much for this one, Sabar. However, I, I want to take you to this very interesting aspect. In many of the institutions, this SBOM is a critical aspect of governance and compliance. Right. So, can you speak more on that?
Absolutely. So, as you know, Swapnil, and the users on the call hopefully know that in GitLab, we encourage running the security scanning on each and every change, and we do that within the branch itself, right? So every developer can have security added into their branch and run different types of security scanning. Actually, all of these different types of security scanning. So we do cover security, and when we say security, it's not only about SaaS or container or dependency security across end to end. As you know, you are as weak as your weakest link, and we make sure that you don't have that weakest link. But to your question, my friend, one of the things we output from the security, not only the security vulnerabilities list, but also the software bill of material, or the packages, the dependency list we call it, all the packages used in the containers, the operating system.
Samar, what is SBOM in plain and lemon language?
Sorry, say it again, please.
What is SBOM? We understand that this is a software bill of materials, but to give the audience a lemon language definition, what exactly it is?
I like your question. I've asked myself that question before, and in simple English, this is the ingredients written on the, when you buy something, and there are the ingredients of what are the components used to build that product.
Okay.
Are the packages, the ingredients, the packages used in the operating system, in the containers, or in your software to build that software.
Okay.
I'm sure you have been a developer before, Swapnil. I'm 100% sure. Like, you have gray hair. I'm sure you have been before. When you build software, there are always dependencies, like packages we import from the outside world. We don't start from scratch, right? We build our software using packages. Guess what? These packages, most of the time, are vulnerable. They are coming from somewhere. Somebody written them, and they have been managed somewhere, and we are importing them into our code. Man, this thing is extremely serious. Where recently, last year or the year before, there was a change in the U.S. requirements, U.S. government requirements for any software to have a predefined list of bill of material, SBOM or software bill of material, attached to it. And in the financial sector, BFSI in general, this is also becoming a prerequisite for any software they build or any software they import from outside. I want to know what packages I am using, regardless of what level, like in my operating system, in my code, in my container, whatever. I want all to know all the packages. And in GitLab, we provide the packages along with the vulnerabilities discovered in these packages. You know what? Again, let me show you. So my friend, this is our pipeline here, the one we have just triggered, right? It has been running, but right here, this is the one we have just triggered now, right? And we have, excuse me, we have security running. All these scanners running. If I go under security, secure here, and dependency list, you see this one? Yep. Here we go. All the packages used, and per package, the vulnerabilities. Man, this is not a random format. I can export it, but when I export it, this is export in the Cyclone DX compliant format. For those who don't know, there are some formats for exporting or representing the software bill of material. In order for this to be digested in external engines for maintaining the registry of your software, you have to export that in certain standard format. One of the most important ones is Cyclone DX SBOM format, and this is compliant with that. So this is an industry standard. I have all my dependencies here available.
Excellent.
So yeah,
Yes.
please.
And how about this artifact attestation? How is it related to this one, the governance part?
Yeah, excellent question. So, we talked about users, we talked about branches or protection of the branches, we talked about review rules, and now we came to the point where we are looking at the dependencies. The next one, you remember when we talked about stealing the outcomes? This is it. Artifacts attestation. What do you mean by that? Simply, when you build something, you need, and usually if this is a valuable thing, you need a document with it that testifies that this is the original, and whether there is any change. If you sell it later or if you position it later, you want to know if there have been any tampering to this product. In our case here, this product is the software or the artifacts, the builds. In GitLab, I can ask GitLab to generate for me a metadata artifact attestation file, which includes all the details about that generated artifact. It can be a build file, it can be anything, it can be just a text file. One of the most important parts of that is the SHA or SHA 256 encrypted stamp, which can then, and by the way, again, this is in the in-toto standards, industry standard, which can then used to be verified if there have been if there has been any tampering to that outcome. Let me show you something. Yeah, please. You had a question.
There's one question from audience, and Sonal is asking, in fact, what is the B-bomb? How is it different from S-bomb?
B-bomb is one of the standards for the bill of material.
D for dog.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, say it again.
D-bomb. D for dog.
Yes. So there are, if you like, I'm happy to open the. So under the Cyclone, there are different versions of or different standards for bill of material. Okay. One of them is the SBOM, the software bill of material, and one of them is the B-bomb. I'm just bringing that up. So just maybe I'll show the link to the answer to the audience quickly. Okay, maybe if you like, I'm happy to. Okay, maybe quickly. Yep. So, my friend on the call, this is what I mean by under the Cyclone DX. You will find standards for the software bill, the specifications for the software bill of the bill of material in general, not only software bill of material. And there are different types of bill of materials, right? So I'm just trying to find the B bomb for you for a second, if you allow me. Yeah, I can find it now, but
Does GitLab support
yeah,
every standard out there?
GitLab support the SBOM because we talk about GitLab is responsible for the software bill of material, the SBOM. The other standards are for different usages, for different use cases, I would say.
Understood.
They are not, yeah. So it's not about like whether we do support them or not. I'm just trying to find that for you. It's about, yes, here we go. Yes, finally. So you see how many bombs we have? Bill of vulnerabilities. Bill of vulnerabilities is something similar to the vulnerabilities reporting we provide, which I'm happy to show in the demo. The MBOM manufacturing bill of material. You see what I mean? There are different use cases for bill of material. There are different translations. The one we support, definitely the vulnerabilities, and this one, the SBOM. This one, for example, is not related to GitLab, the software as a service bill of material. So yeah, I hope that answers the gentleman
Yes,
question.
if at all the question still lingers, we can, people can mail us, of course, and we'll be more than happy to answer
Sure.
that. Moving ahead, I guess you are showing something about the artifact.
Yes. So if I go back here, so one of the pipelines I have built before has an artifact generated. I hope this is the one. Yes. So basically, this is a pipeline where I will just, well, okay, I'll bring it from the other screen here. Okay. Sorry. You see this one? This is the one generated by GitLab. So if I click on this one and say open, for example, using maybe text editor, yep. This is the attestation file for that artifact. The artifact is simply it's just a text file. It's even an empty text file. But basically, the metadata includes all the information about that artifact, all the environment variables around that artifact, the date time stamp for that artifact, and as I said, this is the most important one: the SHA-256 signature, which can be used to verify if that, in case that artifact, which is in my case a text file, is tampered in the future. So this is even the text file. It's like just it's just an empty text file with one link. But once it is generated, it will have generated metadata. I okay. How to go ahead.
No, please continue.
Yes, how to generate that one? Simply, if I go in my IDE, should I have an IDE open here? I change my and build. Sorry. One environment variable. I'm just asking GitLab, can you please, for any build I generate, can you please generate for me that artifact attestation metadata? That's it. Just set one environment variable to true, and then any artifact in our case it was just a text file. Any artifact I generate, an artifact is just an outcome, something I built, something I expose to the outside world.
Right, right.
Yes, please.
I think that's calls it all. I mean, you have explained it thoroughly. However, but there is a still one question that comes to my mind, and if I'm an organization like financial sector, I will ask this: what if the developers don't include these security testings, and how can we control that?
Absolutely. And developers, we do like to take shortcuts, right? We like to focus on development. And this is where this is where GitLab security policies comes in the picture. Again, another way of governance and control. I'm not depending on humans to include the scanning or the controls. In GitLab, I can do two things with the security policies. I can enforce security scans, which answers your question. Simply, I can say, for example, in the pre-production or the production branch, scans or security scanning has to happen. These jobs will be added. The developer decided to add them or not. Also, and this is, I think, even more important, enforce code review based on the scanning results. Again, this is another level of code reviews. This is not the functional, this is the security. Again, we have a CISO. Every BFSI organization has a CISO, someone responsible for the security. I want his approval. I need his approval. And GitLab will actually automate his approval requirements if there are vulnerabilities in my code from certain level. For example, back to our code. If I go under here, security, under policies, and this is where you can define, or I can define policies. As you see here, I have two policies defined. Let's assume you want to define a new one. Okay, so I have either scan result policy, which would include the results of people to approve the change based on the scanning result, or scan execution policy, which, as you said, would force the scanning to be added. So if I click on this one, I have a sample for scan result policy. If I click on this one, scan execution policy, you provide the name to it, whatever you like, and then the more important thing is, I want to run what, or you can decide multiple, one, many, whatever. Let's say I want to run these two, as you see here, and the code will change, running them on any runner or certain runners. And again, that brings us to I want to have a dedicated engines to have my jobs. And this will be triggered every time I run on any branch, certain branches, or branches with or protected branch. This way, I'm not dependent on the developers to add the security scanning capabilities to my pipeline. Also, Swapnil, to show you a sample of the other type. Let's go into this one, the other type of scanning, security policy, scan result policy. If I click on this one and just edit it, let's see what's there. Basically, a name enabled, and then what does it say? It says that when a security scan of type, in my case, when a security scan running on certain any branch or any protected branch, in my case, it's protected with no exceptions, if it finds any vulnerability, pre-existing or new, okay, then require one approval from this user, a user, a group, or names. You know what that means? I, as a CIO in a BFSI organization, I can put my hand on my heart and say, each and every vulnerability resulted or created in my code has been tested, reviewed, and verified by our security experts. Totally, like 100%. Because no way. Because remember, man, because now we have these policies defined. If we go back to our merge request we created earlier, and this one, you see what's required. I have this scanning, the one we have just excuse me, we have just executed. It triggered the license and scan result. And by the way, we're speaking of the license. License scanning is different than security scanning. License scanning means that there are licenses of open source packages found on, or certain packages found in your code. You know what does that mean? If in a BFSI and any regulated environment, if you use open source packages without accepting their terms and conditions, this can make your whole code open source legally. So it's extremely important to manage the licenses in my code.
Mhm.
And this is this is what security policies fix for us. And this is what license compliance. You can control what licenses found and what violations you have in your code.
A very crucial aspect which you have underlined for especially for the CIOs, and every now and then always you find, even though DevOps is being implemented or adopted, there will always be a little bit of friction between the production team and the security team. And this is because of this, because the security team doesn't have the control. They should have, what should go in, what should stay behind, what should be reviewed, and so on and so forth, right? Very
Totally.
interesting feature, Samar. Thank you so much for showing that. And
Absolutely.
moving on, what I believe, however, let's say, okay, as you said, all of these policies are being implemented, being adopted. Is there a way to track them?
Okay. That takes us to the next level. We have defined, we have enforced, now we want to track them,
Yes.
right? And this is where something like, I will come back to the framework, but after I answer your question. Something like reporting and dashboards and audit events comes in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what I want to do here is I want to track down, as you said, I want to track down all the governance and the outcomes, and also all the users' events, not only from security point of view, from actions point of view. By the way, for the audit events, I want not only to track them in GitLab, but also for many organizations like BFSI, I have here the requirements of streaming these events to the external engines in my code. So, for example, for the security events, if I come under audit events, sorry, for audit events, for security events, for audit events, I have been playing with this project since few months, right? Each and every touch and the change I have done on this project is audited. This auditing cannot be tampered, and it can be immediately or streamlined into an auditing engine external to GitLab. So you can track them in GitLab, you can track them outside GitLab in an auditing event.
Let's say, for example, I have a question in here.
Yes, please.
I am an India-based financial institution,
Okay.
and I need to submit audit and compliance report every 6 months or 3 months to our RBI entity, right?
Okay.
So is it possible to generate that report in here and uh, submit it to them? Is it possible?
100% yes. I can export all of these audits. Actually, you have two ways. If you have an external auditing or somewhere you want GitLab to streamline the audits to, totally fine. I can streamline the audits directly as they are happening to the external engine. Second, I can use GitLab APIs to export all of these audits and store them and share them with the external world. So absolutely yes.
Wonderful. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to show you something here. This is, you see the streams? This is where you can define a streaming and stream destination. But Swapnil, to your question, when I say audits not only on the project level, audits on the group of projects level as well.
Okay.
So it means that I have full access, full visibility across all of my projects, anything that can happen, and I can define streams to where I want this auditing to go, including S3, which is any object an object storage, object store external one. S3 or S3 compliant, Google Cloud, or if you like, on HTTP endpoint, and all of the auditing engines today, they provide the HTTP endpoint for ingesting the audits. Now, from here, I just want to show you something. In GitLab, not only we know the best practices, we have documented them, and we are enabling customers to track them. There are best practices, industry best practices, when you define or build DevSecOps for governance. First, easy, prevent others from being approvers. Makes sense, right? I'm the owner of the change, I should not approve, right? Second, prevent committers from being approvers. Yes, you are the author. I have committed. I should not committed a change. I should not be an approver. Third one, as a best practice, you need to have at least 2 approvers for any merge request. 2 eyes. Can you work without complying to them? Yes. But what we will do is we have in GitLab. If I go back to my project, under the secure, I have compliance engine. Sorry, under my group, I have compliance center. So what we will do is we will tell you what's the status of your project compliance against these 3 simple rules. Also, we will tell you which merge requests have already violated these one or more of these compliance rules. So we know the best practices, we have documented them, and we have embedded them in the tool, and we are providing that as a recommendation to our customers, saying, Mr. Customer, this is how you should build a proper governed DevSecOps. These are the industry standards. Now it's your call to apply them or not. And in GitLab, all of these are under just a checkbox. You can prevent or apply each of them.
Excellent. I believe these particular small aspects, and then this is what makes GitLab, I believe, special in terms of this financial institution, because which is tightly coupled with the compliance and security part, and that's where there is a race between moving ahead, being updated with the modern technology, as well as a need to be compliant and secured as well. And this is where I believe the features like this will not only ensure this sector, financial sector, to be ready in the race, but I believe very actively participant, because that's where a lot of fintechs as well now are going ahead, and banking sector is also catching up really fast, and thanks to these kinds of features of GitLab. Very well explained, Samar. Thank you so much for that. However, I have one question in here. Is there
Yes.
any relevant example for you, I mean, for the audience, with GitLab Self-Managed, which you have personally worked upon?
Absolutely. My pleasure. I think this is my most preferred question today. This use case is close to my heart. I have personally worked on with this customer, Bendigo Bank in Australia. I am based in Melbourne, Australia, so they are sort of close to home. Bendigo Bank is one of the leader banks in Australia, and they provide tailored financial community services to people, especially between Victoria and West Australia. So we started working with Bendigo Bank because they were facing issues with operating their existing platform, source code management platform, which happened to be GitHub server. They had so many instances, and just operating them and controlling them and making sure that they comply with the bank compliance and governance was a complex, very time-consuming, risky task. So they started themselves a project to consolidate their tools, not only source code management, but also they replaced Jenkins from CI/CD and also check marks for security. They managed to migrate 32 applications in 30 days, and this is the customer, Bendigo Bank team, doing it. And they have done the migration in 4 weeks, like the whole month, and the thing was done consolidated. it was not only about the functions provided in the GitLab, but it was also all about having this governance and control, a central place. If you ask them today why you migrated, it's a central place where they can have the overall software or DevSecOps, and they can impose governance as we described today in each and each stage of the software cycle, all the way from users, branches, review rules, security policies until the code is generated. It's a public case study. The link is there, the QR code is there, and I'm happy to pass the slides after. We have the recording, so please, for the audience, feel free to review this use case. It's a very interesting one.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I would open up a 5-minute session for audience question. Let's see if at all there are certain questions, but I believe there shouldn't be. The reason being the session has been so comprehensive and so deep and insightful. Most of the queries, a lot of audiences must have been definitely answered. But if at all there are still any questions, let's welcome them.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, please, if at all anybody wants to ask any questions, either you can put it in the chat section or directly raise your hand. I'll open up your voice to let Summer listen. Don't see anybody hands being raised, and then this is what the success of our today's session would lie in, because it has been so comprehensive, so deep, and so insightful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe, if at all, let me know. I think just a sec. A little bit on how GitLab can be hosted in the hybrid environment.
Excellent. So by hybrid, I assume the question on between cloud and on-prem. Is that the hybrid model we are talking about, please?
That's the one.
Okay, excellent. So basically, GitLab, when you think of GitLab, okay, we are talking about two main building blocks. The GitLab server, which is responsible for the user interface, users registration, source code management, file system, everything. And then there are the GitLab runners, which are the components responsible to pull and execute the automation jobs. I can completely host GitLab server in the cloud, in a dedicated, or even if you like, in GitLab.com, while having my runners deployed within my on-prem and registered with that GitLab project that's running remotely. In other words, many customers said, I don't mind with my source code to be hosted outside, but all the jobs have to happen inside my networking. I said, yeah, absolutely. I can run my runners within my GitLab, let's say, environment, my data center, and then have my GitLab server hosted outside. And sometimes it's the other way around. I say, some customers say, I want to run GitLab completely on-prem within my own data center, but I have some applications running on the cloud in our private data center or private VPC in the cloud. I say, again, yes, I can have runners running there on EC2 or even Kubernetes clusters in EKS, in AWS, and then they can just connect to the GitLab server, pull the job, and execute it there. So how you distribute your GitLab and the jobs, it's absolutely up to you. How do you need to run them, and you can actually run them in parallel between the two sides. I hope that answers the question, please.
Of course, and if at all still there is more to it, please drop us a mail for that.
Absolutely.
Any other question? Anybody would like to join in hands, because these particular sessions don't come frequently. So feel free to drop in your questions, please. As of now, that's enough from the audience's side, and already we are a little bit 15 minutes delayed on this particular session, which was just 1 hour. However, I think knowledge need not to be time bound, and that's where we believe in. Thank you all for joining us today in this insightful exploration. First of all, we try to cover up as much as possible within this 1 hour and 15 minutes. We hope you found our discussion on the intersection of security, the development, the operations, rather governance, compliance, security into this BFSI sector valuable. As we conclude, I want to express our sincere gratitude and sincere
Thank you.
thanks to our beloved speaker, Mr. Summer. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
his expertise and his insights.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Everybody, thank you for joining in. Wishing you all a secure and successful DevSecOps implementation in your BFSI endeavors. And if you are a developer, all the best to you. Until next time, stay secure and keep innovating. Thank you all for joining in.
Thank you.